Welcome back to Alberta Primetime. We'll get to some of your feedback in just a moment and how this year's drought is impacting more than just the farming community. But first, destined for prison.
He is the self-proclaimed Prince of Pot, and he's on a countrywide farewell tour before turning himself in to U.S. authorities. Mark Emery has been on the front lines of the marijuana movement for more than 20 years. He is leader of the BC Marijuana Party and currently publishes the magazine Cannabis Culture. But Emery is giving up his fight to avoid extradition to the U.S. and plans to surrender in the fall. He faces 5 years behind bars for selling cannabis seeds to Americans. And Mark Emery joins us now in studio. Mark, you are facing 5 years in a U.S. penitentiary.
With all aliens, no Americans, so I'll be the only Canadian with a lot of Mexicans, Guatemalan, Central Americans, people who have been arrested in the United States.
Are you worried about your safety?
No, I'm never worried about going to jail. I've been arrested 23 times for marijuana and jailed 17 times. I've been jailed in 8 out of 10 provinces, and I've learned a lot by being in jail. I listen to people, and I usually have a lot of epiphanies.
So it sounds like you're ready. Right now, however, you're on this Canadian tour,
yes,
a farewell tour. Are you really going to surrender and stop fighting the U.S. extradition? Because you've been fighting it for 4 years. Or is this just a publicity stunt?
Oh,
are you really going to turn yourself in?
I have to, in a way, because I'm facing 3 charges that actually have mandatory minimums of 25 years and above, and they're calling me the largest marijuana trafficker in the history of the U.S. criminal justice system. They're saying I'm responsible for 1.1 million pounds of marijuana worth $3 billion, and all I did was sell seeds. But, Karen Tandy and the U.S. Justice Department were well aware of my legalization activities and the success we were having, and they've targeted me to try and put me on ice to stop this movement.
So why are you surrendering now then?
Because they've offered, if I plead guilty in Seattle in September, then I'll be sentenced to a joint agreed 5-year term, which will be 4 years and 2 months in the U.S. system, or if I get transferred back to Canada,
but
then I can be out.
Why? I mean, you could just fight it indefinitely. Why voluntarily walk into a jail cell? Are you going to campaign for marijuana legalization from yourself?
Well, I'm never going to stop doing that. I'll still be the leader of the BC Marijuana Party, even from my jail cell. But the reality is, no Canadian has ever been refused extradition to the United States at the request of the U.S. government. Canada, the Canadian government does not have the sovereignty, the nerve to say no to the Americans. And my lawyer said,
you're just tired of fighting it?
No, it's not tired. My lawyer hardly charges me anything. He just says I don't have a hope of winning, and if I lose, I'll face 25 years to life. He says, your wife will never see you again. So do you want her to live with that? He said, do you want her to live for the next 15, 20 years waiting for you to die with no hope of ever seeing you?
Why?
He said, you take this deal, you could be out in 2 or 3 years.
You have sacrificed a lot already. Why? Why are you fighting for the legalization of marijuana? I know it's a big argument.
And it's not because we love marijuana. Many of us do, of course. It's because ending prohibition will help straight people who don't smoke marijuana and the marijuana people. It will help clear the streets of gang violence. It'll stop young people from being attracted to the drug trade. It'll stop people from prostituting themselves to drugs.
So you're saying it's just
it
like
will
alcohol?
end all this social disorder and all this social decay. It'll stop the gangs. It'll allow government to tax and regulate distribution, collect money, reduce
So it should be like alcohol?
It should. Well, it's not nearly as dangerous as alcohol, so it should be treated more like some regulated thing so we can control who gets it. Young people don't get it, and we sell to adults.
People who say that it leads to taking worse drugs?
Well, that's a good consideration. Every parent probably thinks that. But the reason it might lead to other drugs is because the dealer who sells you marijuana knows that marijuana is not addictive and he's not going to hook you. So if you come to him and buy it, he might say, well, why don't you try this crystal meth because he knows they'll be back every day, or cocaine because they'll be back every day, or heroin. So the dealer in the black market, these criminals, and people who operate this way don't have any vested interest in your safety and your health. So they'll try and sell you something that brings you back frequently and often. And they know young people are vulnerable to experimenting, so dealers take advantage of that. Yeah.
Right.
Whereas if we just had marijuana stores taxed and regulated, that's all they'd see, that's all they'd be.
Can I quickly ask you, what's your reaction from people being on this farewell tour? How many cities have you hit? What's the reaction been? Any different in Alberta, maybe?
Well, there's 32 cities that we're going to all of the summer. We've been to Calgary, Banff, Lethbridge, and Saskatoon. Next door in Edmonton here today, and we're doing a new city every day for the next 2 weeks. Only 3 days off this month for our tour.
But do people, are they...
Well, the people who come out are obviously people who support what I'm saying, and they're giving me a lot of love and attention. I've been doing this for 20 20 years, and we had lots of successes.
In fact, your sponsors are giving you $500 per city.
That pays for the flights.
Pay your
expenses. That's right.
Yeah.
But, in 20 years, I was able to largely make marijuana literature legal. We've got industrial hemp in this country. We've got cornflakes and clothes made of hemp. We've got medical marijuana that's been legally made legal by the courts. We've made lots of successes, but more people in Canada than ever before are being arrested for marijuana. 90,000 will get arrested this year alone, and that's unacceptable in a civilized society because we're a peaceful, honest people.
Well, good luck on your tour, and thanks for joining us
Well,
today.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Now it's your turn. Here's Jefferson with tonight's Primetime Interactive.
And we already have some feedback on tonight's residential school discussion.